it's 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. All meeting to order. Please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. No doubt you came in here to avoid the heat, so welcome. It's nice and air conditioned in here. All right, we will start tonight. We have two presentations. The first is the revised 2025 budget presentation. I'll turn it over to Matt.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight's budget presentation can be broken down into the following kind of sections. So we'll talk about budget policy. We'll give some general fund updates, go over some mill levy scenarios, and then give an update on all the different enterprise funds. So current direction from the governing body is that we are to maintain at least a $10 million in bond and interest capacity. What that means is next year we could go out and issue $10 million in principal amount GO bonds on a 10-year term. And that is to be used for investment in infrastructure to support development and to leverage grant or private funding opportunities. Our target fund balance is 30% of annual expenditures in the general fund. And our target fund balance for utility funds is 25% of annual expenditures. Some updates to the general fund since our last presentation is we now have estimates on what the animal shelter contract will be. Basically, it's proposed to go up to $190,000, an increase of almost $75,000 over the prior year. We included that in the revised 25 budget. And we're currently looking at doing an RFP to see what other options there might be and just to try and find some way to control costs going forward. Another change is we're modifying the new position request for the police officer to be a senior commander. The additional impact is approximately $29,500 in wages. At the last meeting, the City Council approved resolution number 2144, showing its intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate with a flat mill levy of 18.31 mils. That's what all public notices will be based on. We've already submitted it to the county, so when they send out notification next month to homeowners, that's the mill rate they'll see. But at that meeting, council discussed wanting to look at more mill scenarios and continue on that conversation about what the mill rate will be. So right now, the base scenario is a flat mill levy scenario. And in that scenario, projected fund balance at the end of 2025 is 34%. At the end of 2029, it drops down to 24%. The flat mill levy scenario captures growth and valuation that would result in approximately $3.51 per month on the average homeowner. And that mill scenario would support a bond interest fiscal capacity of $10.5 million. One of the scenarios that we discussed earlier was a quarter mil reduction in the bond and interest fund. What that does is it reduces the bond and interest fiscal capacity from 10.5 million down to 10 million, and it doesn't have any impact on the general fund balances. The savings to the average homeowner in this scenario is approximately 78 cents per month when compared to the flat mill levy scenario. A half mil reduction in the bond and interest fund would reduce our projected bond and interest fiscal capacity from 10.5 million to 9 million, and it would have average savings of about $1.56 per month when compared to the flat mill levy scenario. A new scenario that was kind of discussed at the last meeting, we brought back numbers on, is if we did a quarter mil reduction in bond interest and a quarter mil reduction in general fund, What that does is it would still have the $1.56 in savings per month because it's still a half mil overall. But the bond and interest capacity would go from 10.5 down to 10 million. And then the general fund would end 2029 with a fund balance of 22%. Moving on to the enterprise funds. When I presented the CIP back in April, I basically modeled out all the capital projects at that time and gave an update on the enterprise funds. And since then, we've developed the operating budget. The purpose of the next few slides is to highlight some of the major budget items and provide an updated forecast. So in the electric fund in 2024, we're revising our wholesale electric purchases budget by 2.1 million, and also increasing 300,000 for meters and materials. In 2025, there's another $600,000 increase in wholesale electric purchases, 80,000 for a diesel storage tank inspection, 50,000 for deadweight tester and forklift, and 250,000 for underground cable puller. This graph shows both the revenues and expenditures over the 5-year period, and also its effect on fund balance. The spike in revenue and expenses in 2025 related to the new substation, Unit 2 upgrade, and substation number 1 T2 upgrade. And then the revenue side of that is the associated debt proceeds of those projects. Please note that we decreased residential electric rates, service fees, and temporarily suspended the power cost adjustment in 2023 as a strategy to reduce the electric fund balance to the target fund balance over time, provide relief to Gardner residents. Fund balance is projected to drop from 68% of expenses in 2023 to 33% by 2029. We recently updated the electric master plan, which identified many new capital projects. The electric fund forecast past year 5 continues its downward trend. It's projected to eventually go negative. The city has hired KMEA to conduct a rate study, which will help guide our long-term financial plan for the electric utility. In the water fund, the revised 2024 budget includes $120,000 for tower inspections, $320,000 for clarifier repairs, and $65,000 for pond cleanout. In 2025, there's $400,000 for 183rd tower rehab, $250,000 for Clearwell, another $135,000 for another increase in pond cleanout. Essentially, we're going from 1 to 2 in 24 to up to 4 times in 2025. And then $117,000 increase for meters and materials. You notice this was also a line item in the electric fund that went up. We're basically preparing for increased costs and also anticipating more development. So we're upping our budget for meters and materials. When we forecast that out, the fund balance drops below 25% of expenses in 2024 through 2028. But this is mainly due to capital projects inflating expenses. For example, the water intake structure in 24, the new water transmission line, which is broken up over 25 and 26. The forecast ends with a fund balance of 27%. The fund balance remains around $2 million throughout the entire forecast. So I generally consider this fund still healthy. We just need to keep a close eye on it because it is at that kind of bottom threshold. In the wastewater fund, $70,000 in 2024 revised budget for the VFD replacement, $150,000 decrease in I&I. In 2025, $40,000 for replacing 2 mowers, $201,000 increase in the electric budget due to the plant expansion project, $100,000 for a new camera van, and $60,000 increase in the I&I program over the original 24 budget. We're kind of moving around some money in the I&I program where staff is looking at ways to self-perform some of the work that we currently hire out. So the van and some of the other equipment that you'll see in the budget is related to kind of self-performing some of those tasks. spike in revenues and expenses in 2024 is related to the Kill Creek expansion project, utilities maintenance building, Wynwood Park Relief Sewer project, and Cedar Niles Lift Station. And then also the associated debt and grant proceeds that support those capital projects. The fund balance remains above 25% of expenses from 2025 through 2029. At the end of 2029, the projected fund balance is 33%. For the airport, if you remember back in the April presentation on CIP, when we modeled out those capital projects, the airport fund went bankrupt in 2026. Essentially, it could not afford to cash fund all the CIP. And it really, when we do interfund loans, they're supposed to be on a short-term basis. So we were looking at options on how to help the airport fund at that time. And I even mentioned not a loan, but a subsidy from either the general fund or electric fund. So we looked at this in more detail and come up with some recommended solutions. If we look at hangar rates every 3 years and make adjustments, and also utilize short-term loans from the electric fund for 2 of the projects, the planned land acquisition, and then also temporary financing for the new terminal building, we could actually make the fund so it doesn't go negative. And essentially on the terminal building, that local match after grant funding is still going to be somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000. We'd still need to do bonds to long-term finance that. And we'd stretch out the debt payment to the useful life of the asset. When we model that out, you can see the spike in revenues in 2026. Revenues and expenses, that's all related to the terminal building or the airport terminal project. And then throughout the entire forecast, it stays positive, but it does drop down to about $40,000 in fund balance. So next steps, I'm looking for direction from council on the mill levy. And while you have up until the public hearing to basically lower the mill levy if you want to, knowing what council's direction is right now, like a more firm direction, would help us build budget documents that we can distribute to the public for that public hearing. And then any other direction you have on budget would be appreciated. And then the public hearings for the revenue neutral rate discussion and the 2025 budget are scheduled for Tuesday, September 3rd.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Council, what kind of questions do you have?
I know you want to talk.
Yeah,
No,
Steve.
I said my piece last meeting, but obviously there's going to be additional discussion on this. I personally think we need to give some relief to our residents. Nothing's changed in that regard here.
Anybody else? Okay, can we go back to the slides on the B&I changes? Okay, so quickly, I'll try to be quick, going through these. If we drop a $250,000 in B&I, right, we still are going to have a problem in 2029 with general fund. So we're already going to be looking at a mill rate increase at some point between now and 2029, right?
Unless growth is above.
Unless growth comes in, right? Which is why we have to capitalize on that growth, which is why we want B&I to be as high as possible for right now. While we're hot, we need to stay hot. We need to capitalize on it. So I don't think we want to minimize what we can do with B&I for 78 cents.
I'm in agreement with that. I think, like you said, I think we're in that growth mode and we need to capitalize on that.
I mean, it's going to slow, and when it does, I'm fine with looking at reduction anyway, but I don't think it makes much sense right now for 78 cents.
78 cents a month
A
isn't
month.
even a coffee a year.
And that's average. I mean, that's the.
I mean, I'm not trying to minimize that it's a savings. It's just that it's going to hamper our ability to capture that growth that we want to help get us out of some of this, if possible.
And it's not helpful to save them 78 cents if in 2 years we have to come back and ask them for an additional $3.
Okay. the average home valuation increase in Gardner, Kansas, coming up is estimated to be about 5%. Okay? This year. All right? Personally, I think that's going to end up being a little on the low end. But it looks like the estimates right now coming from the county, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this one, Matt, because you've probably gotten the valuation numbers better than I have, but my understanding is that it's about 5%.
The last estimate I saw was about 8.9% for the
8.9.
city.
Okay, so it is a lot.
That includes new valuation, new valuation as well.
Okay, so actually, we're not saving people 78 cents a month. What we're doing is we're giving them 78% back, 78 cents back on the increase, which is going to be pretty significant. You add 8% on the valuation of the house. That means that your property taxes are going up 8%. Okay, so we could talk about savings all we want, but it's not really a savings when we're asking them to pay 8% more on their property taxes. I understand that, and I can't believe I'm arguing with you on this one, Mark, because typically you are on the other side of this. You're on my side of this.
Well,
And
the problem is we can't do, like Matt and I tried to figure out a way to calculate this, what it would be to be 0% net change to a home, right? So the valuation went
that's
up,
revenue
let's say
neutral.
8%. No,
Yeah.
that's based off expenses.
I
But
understand
if the
that.
valuation went up 5%, what would the mill rate have to be to compensate for the 5%, right?
Yep.
There's not an easy way to calculate that.
And I'm not even saying take it all the way back to revenue, or not revenue neutral, but expense neutral.
No, I
Okay.
get that.
What I'm saying is that we need to be cognizant. There's people out there that are hurting. People are being priced right out of the county because our valuations, our appraiser's office is utterly out of control. I think we all can agree on that. Okay? They're increasing the values of these properties way beyond the rate of inflation, and maybe it's because of the fact that we're a growing area. I understand that, but that still doesn't take that off the table from the standpoint of we've got fixed income, low income, and single income families in this town. And the higher these taxes go, the higher the amount of money we're taking out of their pockets goes, the less likely they're able to stay in this community.
Well, I agree.
And so I am going to push hard. If this doesn't come in with at least a $0.25 reduction, I'm not going to vote for this budget. I'm telling you that right now. So if it comes from the BNI or if it comes from the general fund, I don't care. I want a $0.25 reduction. We owe that to our citizens.
Steve, what effect would that have after the 5% increase of the average home? We've lowered it $0.25.
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you right now, it ultimately, even if it's 78 cents, it's something.
What happens by 2027 or 2028 when we have to
I
raise
cannot believe I'm arguing this with a bunch of people who consider themselves fiscal conservatives.
What happens if
No,
we
I-
lower
I-
it now, and then in 27 or 28 we have to raise it another $1?
We'll talk about it in 27, 28. That's 4 years down the road.
I understand what you're saying, and yes, I've been one that had said that in the past too. Hey, we can look out the 5 years, and hey, we need to get closer to the 30 sooner, et cetera, et cetera. Problem is, we've done that for a couple years, and all on board, right? I led that charge. But when we look at 24% at the end of 2029, that's going to require a mill rate increase, unless everything goes swimmingly.
Not swimmingly, beyond very conservative.
Yeah, but we can't make a budget off of hopes and dreams. We've got to make it off of conservative numbers. So if I'm pleasantly surprised in the future and I can give somebody back 78 cents next year, absolutely I will. But if I do that this year and then have to come back and ask for $3.50 3 years from now, that's not going to help anybody.
No, that would be $3.50 on top of the 5 or 10, 15% increase in property value. So it's really a bigger number than that. If I understand, follow the logic here.
Well, the biggest problem is that this is a cumulative effect, right? If you lower the mills today, it impacts you going forward,
Correct.
right? So it's not just a change for this year.
Anything we decide is going to affect us down the road. If we leave it flat, it's going to increase our property taxes even more down the road. It's going to be a cumulative effect.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Again, we can adjust it later. I just don't think this is the year to do it.
Then,
Right, we lowered it the last 2 years.
no, we've
Oh,
not.
sorry, last year we left it the same.
We left it flat because of that
Before that,
70%
we
increase in our health premiums.
But that health premium, we're still riding that. And we still think that next
Yeah.
year, I mean, at the end of this year, who knows what's gonna happen?
We don't know.
But we're also not happy with what we got.
Well,
So I don't know that we can do even a quarter. It doesn't seem, it seems like we're playing in the noise.
Based off everything Matt said, I heard nothing in there that we go, hey, that's relief. I heard, oh crap, over and over. So there's nothing in here that looks optimistic to me for 27, 28, 29. And like I said, I'm 100% on board that if we look at this next year and everything changed in this year, because I wouldn't be surprised if we're in the exact same boat next year. Because it's going to take a couple years to see that growth actually do something, particularly every time we abate something. Right? Things have to roll off. So I'm not opposed to doing something, but I don't think it's the right time.
I will say what I've heard time and time again from our citizens is the stuff that they want or need. They want our roads. They want another park. They want another splash pad or a splash pad. They want a community center. They want all these things. We can't do that and drop mills. We're chasing our own growth here, and if we don't capitalize on it, our citizens won't want to live here because we won't have the infrastructure for them to enjoy it.
well,
And I think as a growing city, as a growing community, I mean, I think we've been very responsible, and I think our mill is currently are very
Well,
reasonable.
I don't want 2 years from now a mill rate increase. I don't want to have to move the mill levy up to chase it and then shock citizens into, oh my god, I don't know that I can afford. But I agree, Steve, if we could lower it by a full mill, if we could stay revenue neutral, I'd be all for it. But our citizens want things, they want the streets, they want the infrastructure. They applaud our electric and water company because of how well it runs, and we do that by our projects.
having sat in the seat that our mayor is sitting in right now, I know more than just about anybody on this dais what that means. I also know that I have heard from many, many citizens that have said that they can barely afford their mortgage payments. They can barely afford putting food in their refrigerator. We're seeing people, you've been to Harvesters before on some of those weekends when Rotary's done Harvesters drives. The lines for cars coming in for the food drops, for the food bank, is around the church and out onto the street. And the vast majority of those people live right here in Gardner. I've never seen anything like it. It's gotten worse and worse. And I understand where everybody's coming from. I understand that the city needs money in order to be able to operate. I understand we're chasing growth. I understand all these things. This is what I'm just gonna finish my comment, and then we can end it because I know it's 4-1 right now, and that's the way it's gonna be. Okay? I'm just absolutely shocked that nobody's speaking for the people who are hurting like they're hurting in this community right now. And I'm done with it.
I take not offense, but opposition with that, because we are speaking for them, because we're not going to shaft them in the future by saying, hey, we're going to give you this.
They're hurting now.
Yes, but is 78 cents going to fill their shopping cart up? No, it's not. But if we don't capitalize on the growth that you said, you agreed that we need to do, because we need to be optimistic and get the growth, we can't do that if we take that away from ourselves in that ability for 78 cents. It doesn't give them relief, but it shafts us in the sense that we can't grow as much as we want to help them in the future, right? It's a circle.
As I said, I know it's going to be 4-1, but you're not going to get my vote for a flat rate.
I think we do have some consensus as far as flat rate, correct? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. Our next presentation is Project Grad 2025.
I didn't bring a presentation, so I didn't know that's what this part
Oh, no,
was.
you're fine.
Totally fine, yes, yeah, we're just here to.
And hopefully this is a more fun topic than what we were just talking about. So good evening, my name is Christine Wilson, and I'm part of the 2025 Project Graduation Committee for Gardner Edgerton High School. My daughter is going to be a senior this year, so I have a vested interest in this, as you can imagine. So those of you that may not be familiar with Project Graduation, it really was started in Maine in about 1980, and it allowed for a safe place for our students to go after graduation that was chemical and alcohol free. In Maine, around that time, there had been several teen-related deaths that started this, and it's then kind of spread out across the country, and it's been here for many, many years in the Gardner Edgerton High School. And so it's a parent-ran organization. While we work tirelessly to raise money for this, and we've already started raising money for this as of the day of this year's graduation, and we'll continue to do it. Our goal is to raise $50,000 the night of graduation. It's a safe place for them to go in the high school. We have a bunch of prizes and games and really fun things for them to do. It keeps them in one safe place where they remain for the remainder of the night until about 1 in the morning, when they're allowed at that point to go home. But we are asking for a donation from the Gardner City Council right now. Edgerton has already donated $6,000 to the program for this year, and we would like to ask that you either exceed or match that contribution, knowing that the majority of the students that go to GEHS are actually in the Gardner city limits. We realize it's a sizable ask, but with the rising cost of goods and services, like he just was explaining, we're looking to spend, like I said, a large amount of money, and our goal is around $50,000 for us to raise. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
So if you could stay up, I'm sure we've got some questions from council.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're ready. Steve, did you have any?
I'm gonna pass it now, check back.
Yeah. Mark?
I participated last year. I had a senior graduate in 2024 and got to enjoy the evening and see how tired the kids were at the end of the night or the early morning. And so I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to provide a safe environment for these graduated citizens and their parents for some place that those parents don't have to worry where their kids are going to be for the next couple hours and well into the evening, and they're just going to come home and crash. So I think it's an opportunity for us to give back, and I'm all for it, as I was last year.
I'll come back to you.
Okay. That's fine. No, I'm totally fine with it.
He doesn't want to be beat up like I'm going to be beat up, I guess.
I'm fine.
So how long? I don't remember exactly how much was the city's piece for 3,000. Okay. So what we're looking at is at least they're asking for at least a match of Edgerton's donation, right? 5,000.
6,000.
6,000.
Correct.
6,000.
That's correct.
Sorry about that. Or more. Yes, I understand that. What's our? I don't think is this still not a budgeted item?
It's budgeted for 3,000.
For 3,000. So we've got it in the budget for 3,000. We don't have anything more than that.
And we talked about increasing that budget from when they were here last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that we ever came back and rediscussed
I
it.
don't think we did.
We said,
Not beyond that night.
no.
So I mean, a couple of $1,000 is a kind of a drop in the bucket, but that's
I think in light of our last discussion.
that's what I was going to say. It's in light of the last
if-
discussion.
If we're looking to try to stay revenue neutral, no levies.
Well, no, we're not, because you guys
Well-
have already said you're going to have a flat mill. So
Okay. If we're looking to do that, and we know the future's gonna cost us more money, there's only two ways we can bridge the gap, either spend less or charge more mill levies. And I think, exceeding even $1,000, exceeding what's a budgeted number would not send the right, in my mind, would not send the right kind of message.
Do we need to look at a budget adjustment for future years?
Yeah,
Since
so
we
if
passed
the
it
budget is
la-
3,000,
passed it
I couldn't
along
get you to
last year.
change it last year,
Exactly.
because it should be 0.
Oh, there you go.
Mark, start.
I'm getting in that. So.
Are you getting warmed up, Mark?
So, I have never believed that this is the proper use for taxpayer dollars, right? This is a wonderful organization and group. The project is great, right? I have no problem with it. It's like having after proms so the kids don't do something that night, right? I don't have a problem with that, but I think this goes to parents, businesses doing donations. This is not taxpayer dollars. Never has, never should have been. Furthermore, if it's gonna be taxpayer dollars, it should be the school district because number one, their mills are 48 cents out of every dollar. Ours are only 14, and it's spread over a bigger area, including Edgerton. So if anybody's gonna get taxed, it should be the school district, not us.
Well, that is
And
us.
on top of that, $3,000 divided by 25,000 people is 12 cents a person. So if I got 3 people in a house, there's 36 cents of your 78. Now it's one time, 1 month, but there's half a month for you, right? Okay, so no, it should be 0.
Good question. It's what's do you know the numbers this year of students graduating? Is it similar? Is it more? Is it less?
So registration opens actually today, I believe, and so I don't have the exact numbers. I know it's supposed to be one of the largest graduating classes from Gardner Edgerton High School. Last year was a little over 420, if I remember correctly. Don't hold me to that. I'm going on memory here.
Close enough.
But yeah, I think that's where it was. So we're expected to exceed that.
23 was 550 to 590, so
Was
It's
it really?
been-
Oh,
it's
you know
been-
what? That was the largest class
yeah, so it's
since
been
then.
going
So
down since 23.
Down
Mhm.
5% from my understanding, but it's
Say 500.
yeah, let's say
That's-
500 is where we're gonna be at. But
that's interesting. So I'm sure you've already seen this, but in the Kansas City Business Journal here recently, they said that the largest growing city in the metro area was Gardner.
It is.
So I can imagine that, you know, I don't know where we're at, but I know that it's a very large graduating class. My daughter being here since kindergarten, it's always been one of the largest classes ever.
yeah, and now that we're keeping people in town with our
With
increased
our great mill rate,
and with our increased housing inventory more than anything else, I think you're going to start to see more and more kids getting through the high school. That's part of the problem is that most of the families that lived in Gardner, they'd get up to middle school, and then their families would leave Gardner because there was no upwardly mobile housing stock. So a lot of those folks are now just buying another house in Gardner.
I was that person.
Yep.
Yeah, we moved 2 years ago to a larger home, and
Yep.
as they became available. Yeah.
So that also increases our graduating classes. So
And I'm sorry, do you know participation-wise what percent?
Yeah, there was a little over 250 that actually attended. So of 420, there was about 250. So yeah, a little over half.
So that's, I mean, on average, like $2,000 a kid. If you're hoping to raise $50,000.
About so what happens is each kid, if they stay the entire night, which that's what the goal is, they all leave with $100. So they leave $100 cash, and then throughout the night they have a ton of prizes. The prizes aren't intended for everyone who's going to college. They're intended for any kid, whether they're going to a trade, whether they're not going at all, whether just straight to work, whatever they may be. So there's going to be a ton of prizes associated with it, but the cost honestly comes into all the event things that we have, whether it's the silent disco, whether it's the mechanical bull, whether it's all these other things. That's where the cost increases are happening that we're seeing. That are.
I love the bull.
Okay. So that's where the majority of the cost increases are happening. So the budget last year was actually $55,000, and we're hoping to get at least $50,000, even though we know we're going to have a larger class, and even though we know goods and services are increasing. And so literally we raised $3,000 selling bottled water at graduation. I mean, so the parents are putting in a lot of time and effort. I mean, we have a ton of skin in the game. We have a great committee. We have a lot of kids involved. We had kids walking the Edgerton Parade selling water. We didn't sell one bottle, but we got tons of donations. So lesson learned on that. So yeah, I mean, it's just a great event. And I participated last year too, just to kind of see how it went. And I thought it was lovely. I thought it was great.
I'm sorry, I mean, Chief, I had actually a question for you. Do you know, do we, is there like SROs there for this event, or? Yeah.
Did you ride the bull?
I wanted to know.
Is it one single SRO, or is that our
Yeah, just one.
security?
Mhm. Yeah, and we didn't have any issues. So,
Okay.
so that's good. I do know that. We didn't have any issues.
And again, do we, is this, they pay for that SRO?
Yes.
They do, okay.
I've participated in 2 project grads. One of them with the city administrator, as a matter of fact, because his daughter and my 3rd son were the same graduating class. It was a lot of fun, and it's wholesome, and the kids, for the most part, are very well behaved, and they're just being good kids. That being said, I don't know if we necessarily want to go above the budget number. I wouldn't go so far as to have, to take Mark's suggestion that we completely remove it, since it was already on the budget.
That's only because I couldn't get you to remove it last year.
Well,
We could remove it at any point in time.
I think that's something I can live
Something
with.
I vote, but I think, I mean, I'm more in favor of the 5,000. I mean, I think as a city, there is a safety issue in our city. There is we're trying to get kids from not going out and doing something they shouldn't, which put people in danger. It's a community event. I mean, it's something that's done every year.
I'm not saying cancel the
No.
project grad, I'm just saying we should fund it.
Well, and that's just, what she was saying, raising so much money, that's how it should be. The taxpayers decide how they want to donate their money instead of us deciding for them, which I know is Mark. I am okay with the 3,000 because we budgeted for it.
And I'm in line with you.
I know, but-
I'm okay with the 3,000 because number one, that's what was budgeted. And number two, I'm not completely 100% sold on why we should be using tax money for this, but if it's in the budget and there's a need and it doesn't put us behind, I'm okay with it.
All right, well, there seems to be consensus on this as well, then, the 3,000, 1, 2, 4, correct? Three.
Do we need a motion on that?
Can I?
No, it's part of the budget discussion.
Just out of curiosity, so I mean, I saw the budgeting he was proposing earlier, and I saw that increase to the animal shelter of about $75,000. So it's just kind of interesting to me as a taxpayer that we would spend more on an animal shelter than we would for our students to be safe. An additional, for $6,000. So when I saw that number come up, and I'm an animal lover, I was just a little surprised by that. And so I guess it's just disappointing that this has become a discussion that people might not be interested in, so.
And actually, and of course, the animal shelter, we have to.
I
More of a
understand it's
necessity,
part
I
of,
guess,
yeah,
to say that.
It's a,
yeah.
it's a requirement, animal control.
So,
Okay,
good
so
with doing the 3,000?
I think that seems to be at least Steve, Mark,
Okay,
Casey,
can
Steve.
we pull it out of the budget for next year?
We can have that discussion later.
I can make the argument to increase it.
That's fine.
Okay. So I believe looks like we'll probably stay
We have consensus.
consensus to stay 3,000, but we will donate the 3,000.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, appreciate it.
What about speaking of the SRO? I mean, I don't know what the cost is on that. Would that be something, an in-kind service we might consider?
We donate the SRO and no cash?
Well, no, additional.
It's an official high school function.
Fair enough. Okay. Thank you. Christine.
Thank you.
All right, we do have a public hearing this evening. Public hearing number 1, hold a public hearing for the purpose of citizen input regarding the proposed 2025 Community Development Block Grant application. Do I hear a motion to open the hearing?
Second.
McNair. Motion McNair, second Shute. We open a public hearing for the purpose of receiving citizen input regarding the proposed 2025 Community Development Block Grant application. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Public hearing is open. Anyone would like to come forward? Seeing no one, I will entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion McNair, second Deaton. We close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Public hearing is closed. Move to public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of the public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. 5-minute time clock on your left. State your name and address for the record. Voting is now open. Ms. Smith.
My legs got numb sitting
Sorry.
there. I still hate this podium. Hi, Jennifer Smith. I'm at 648 South Oak Street. Still can't see everybody. I'll just move around so I can see you guys. I am here this evening to follow up from my email to the council on July 1st about the fireworks policy. Thank you, Mark, not you, Baldwin, the other one, for being the only person to follow up with an email to me. The policies that have been established for the fireworks for the city of Gardner are broken. There are citizens that do not follow the guidelines. They continue to shoot off before and after the dates the council has set. Citizens do not follow the guidelines of not shooting in the middle of the street, sidewalks, or on public property. The amount of debris that is left over from said fireworks shot before, during, and after the dates is unbelievable. I had to go out every hour during the high volume of fireworks to make sure debris was not falling in my yard that my ducks could ingest. Yes, I said ducks, and I do have a homestead permit to have ducks, and they free range in my backyard. As you can see from this bag, I have props. From this bag, this is what I picked up mainly from after the 4th. If any of my ducks ingested any of this, it would have killed them. The neighbors behind me were shooting off from their backyard and back porch into the neighbor's house behind them. I was very worried their house would catch on fire. That neighbor had picked up debris from his yard and he threw it over the fence into the neighbor that shot off the fireworks. If I was to dump this trash on my neighbor's property, it would be considered littering and I could get fined for it. But during the time frames of fireworks being shot off, it's okay to litter in your neighbor's yard. Accountability. The lack of citizens following the designated dates and times is disrespectful. And tonight at 5:53 p.m., someone in Genesis Farm was shooting off fireworks. It's very disrespectful to those that do follow the rules and also to the citizens that cannot handle the fireworks. As my 2 adult children with autism prepared for the time frame of scheduled fireworks, we had to start early as people started shooting off the date fireworks went on sale to Sunday, July 7th. My son's anxiety was through the roof on some of those days. It's like my children became prisoners in their own home, and for the citizens to not follow the guidelines, there has to be consequences. This falls on the city council to make sure that policies are followed and for there to be accountability with these actions. There are still streets in Genesis Farms that has firework debris on the streets as of July 15th. I even have pictures if you'd like to see them. On July 5th, the house behind me was shooting off fireworks. It was 8 p.m. I got in my car and drove over to Walnut Street. There was a family all sitting out shooting off fireworks in the street. There were cars close to the area. Fireworks were still smoking in the street. The mother tried to wave me through. I rolled down my window and politely asked if they could stop as I have children with autism, and that fireworks ended on July 4th. They were very nice and stopped, but that evening people were still shooting off fireworks throughout the neighborhood. I'm also wondering where the police department was during this time. I never once saw an officer patrol our street, but I know they were probably very busy. I understand people want to have fun and enjoy this time, and I do not want to take away any of that from them, but has to be a better way to control those that do not follow the rules. I would be more than happy to be a part of a committee or a task force that troubleshoots the situation to make it less frustrating for those that cannot handle the excessive amounts of fireworks and for citizens to follow the rules. Okay.
Any other public comment? All right, we'll move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda you'd like to remove? Your motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shoot, second McNear. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Consent agenda passes. No planning and zoning consent. We'll move to committee recommendations. Committee recommendation number 1. Consider adopting ordinance approving a rezoning from RP4 Planned Mixed Density Neighborhood District to RP4 Planned Mixed Density Neighborhood District for potential residential development of 28.86 acres located on the northeast section of 167th Street and White Drive.
Mayor, members of the council, good evening. Just very quickly, I'm going to give you a brief overview. I know sometimes when we have issues like this where we're zoning from RP4 to RP4, you wonder why that's before you. Again, this is a revised preliminary development plan. So this property was previously approved for RP4 zoning, and you might recall that was back in 2022. The development proposal was for 106 duplexes, 212 units on this 28 plus acre parcel of property. During that time, obviously the economic conditions changed. We had interest rate changes, supply chain issues, and the developer, the original developer that was proposing that development, backed away from that development. Since then, a new developer has stepped forward with this proposal. The proposal is for 264 units on this parcel of property in a townhome configuration, so the buildings are in 4 and 6 unit configurations. The development will include an extensive trail system through that. You should have seen that in your packet, as well as a clubhouse and amenity center open space as part of the development. The development team is here tonight if you have questions for them. They did have a short presentation also that they've provided to us if you want to hear that. With that, I'll stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dave. If they have a presentation, that's certainly take a look at that.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Lewis. I'm at 1506 Whispering Ridge Drive in Pleasant Hill, Missouri. Salih Development, you can go to the next one. Oh, I have it. Oh, it's right here. I can go to the next one. It's family owned and operated. They've been around since about 1980s, late 1980s. Started off as a custom home builder, and they moved into developer, build their own developments, and then they started developing to sell the lots, and then they started developing into multifamily to build to rent and to build to hold. They sold some of those, but our main focus right now is build to hold for about 10 years on our projects. So we build multifamily townhomes and hold on to them to make our profits. We partnered with Davidson Architecture on this one. They were the same architecture that submitted the plan in the first place. They're here with us today. Flint Trail site, it's just north of 167th, over there by, what is that? Moonlight Road, is that right? Yeah, as he said, it's 264 units now. This is basically the same layout that you guys approved, the same concept. We have multifamily homes, 2 stories with the clubhouse, the pool, 2 pickleball courts, and the trail system throughout. 2 to 3 bedroom units, 2-car garage on the 3 bedrooms, 1-car garage on the 2 bedrooms. This is the clubhouse elevation. That would be your townhome elevation. Multiple frontage. presentation.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. Any public comment on this committee recommendation? Council, questions?
I don't see a lot of difference between this set of plans and the other set of plans. Slightly more density. I see a few more sixplexes in here than there were in the previous. And there are a couple of quads in here that were not mentioned that I see here as well. This looks like it looks like something that fits in that area. Less density than tall grass, but definitely fills the need. We don't have a lot of two-story external access properties that have garages. So I think this definitely helps fill that need.
I appreciate the two-car garages on the slightly
Mhm.
larger units. I know
Yep.
we have some townhome areas that don't have that get a little bit congested, so that'll really help with congestion.
No other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Todd's choice.
Yep, whatever works.
With all, he hasn't done much tonight.
Ah.
Said much. Motion Baldwin, second Teton. We accept the recommendation of the planning commission and approve ordinance number 2805, an ordinance changing the zoning classification or districts of certain lands located in the city of Gardner, Kansas, under the authority granted by Title 17 of the Municipal Code of the city of Gardner, Kansas, and acceptance of easements and rights of ways as shown on the final plat.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Mayor Winters.
Yes. Ordinance number 2805 passes. I believe we'll have some more stuff with them here in just a little bit. But committee recommendation number 2, consider adopting ordinance approving a rezoning from CP3 Planned Heavy Commercial District to CP3 Planned Heavy Commercial District for potential commercial development of 1.27 acres located on the on the south side of East Santa Fe Street, approximately 750 feet west of Conestoga Street.
Mayor and council, once again, this is similar to the first item in that this had a previous development plan that was associated with it as the Gardner Business Center that was approved back in 2019. This property has been vacant since that time, that approval. The intent at that time was a different use, not a used car lot with detailing uses associated with it. So therefore, you have the revised preliminary plan before you tonight, which triggers the rezoning again from CP3 to CP3. We're just changing the regulatory plan associated with this parcel. In addition to that, we have the final plat similar to your first issue, and your role would be simply to accept those easements and right-of-ways as dedicated. Stand ready for any questions.
Thank you, Dave. Is there any public comment on committee recommendation number 2? Council, questions, comments?
I'm liking having a car dealership added to our community. I think that's a good business addition, as we don't have new or used dealership in town as of now, so I think this is a welcome addition.
Is there then a motion for committee recommendation number 2?
So moved.
Choose again. All right, we'll go with Shoot,
Wow.
Shoot, second McNair. We'll change it up next time. We accept the recommendation of the planning commission and approve ordinance number 2806, an ordinance changing the zoning classification or districts of certain lands located in the city of Gardner, Kansas, under the authority granted by Title 17 of the Municipal Code of the city of Gardner, Kansas, and acceptance of easements and rights of ways as shown on the final plat. City clerk.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Mayor Winters.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2806 passes. Welcome to town. All right. No old business, and so we'll move to new business. New business item number 1, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the offer for public sale of certain general obligation bonds and notes of the city of Gardner, Kansas. Finance Director will
The city is planning to sell approximately 1.545 million principal amount of general obligation bonds, Series 2024A, and approximately 1.09 million of principal amount general obligation temp notes, Series 2024B, on August 5th. The bonds will be used to pay off 2023A general obligation temp notes and provide permanent financing for the Hilltop Ridge special benefit districts. The temporary notes will be used to provide temporary financing for offsite sewer improvements and lift station improvements for Lone Star Prairie special benefit district. After the improvements have been levied for the projects and permanent financing has been secured, the city will levy special assessments on the properties to pay for the improvements. The cost of the improvements for the Hilltop Ridge special benefit districts and Lone Star Prairie benefit district will be 100% against the improvement district and 0% against the city at large. City staff recommends adopting the proposed resolution. Please note that both Tyler Ellsworth, the city's bond counsel from Kutak Rock, is here, and also Tom Calico from Baker Tilly, the city's municipal advisor, is here tonight.
Thank you, Matt. Is there any public comment for new business item number 1? Council, do you have questions?
Just a question about the market. I'm assuming that not much of the fundamentals have changed, correct? Are we still seeing bonds in the 5% range for a municipal?
Good evening, Tom Calico with Baker Tilly. Yeah, anyway, rates came up, of course, at the end of 21. They've been moving up and down in a fairly narrow range since then. We're probably looking at something with a forward handle, something like 4+% for the bond issue. It's been, as you point out, it's been relatively steady for quite some time now.
Okay, yeah. I don't think there's gonna be any Fed moves, and to be honest with you, with things happening in equity and bond markets right now, I might actually see a little bit of a lowering of those rates, but I think that we should expect something in that range.
It's been up and down the last few years. The market reacts to every hint of what the Federal Reserve is going to do.
Yep. Up or down. Yep, I totally understand. So, thank you.
Thank you for your time. All right.
That's all I had.
Do I hear a motion for new business item number 1?
So moved.
Motion Shute, second McNair. We adopt resolution 2146, resolution authorizing the offer for public sale of certain general obligation bonds and notes of the city of Gardner, Kansas. City clerk?
Councilmember Deaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Lee?
Yes.
Councilmember Shute?
Yes.
Councilmember McNair?
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Resolution number 2146 passes. New business item number 2, consider a resolution declaring the intent of the city of Gardner, Kansas to issue industrial revenue bonds taxable under federal law in the principal amount not to exceed $25 million for the purpose of financing a portion of the acquisition, construction, and equipping of a rental townhome project within the city, Flint Trails.
The developer of Flint Trails Residential Development has requested the use of IRBs to finance a portion of its rental townhome project. This financing approach would provide the developer with a sales tax exemption on construction materials, which would enable the developer to include more amenities into the project. Exhibit A of the attached resolution outlines the package of amenities, which represent a significant private investment and adds additional value to the development project beyond the minimum development requirements of such a project in the city of Gardner. The IRBs will be payable solely out of the rentals, revenues, and receipts derived from the lease of the project to the company from the city. The bonds shall not be general obligations of the city, nor constitute a pledge of full faith and credit of the city, shall not be payable in any manner of taxation. It is staff's recommendation that you adopt the proposed resolution.
Thank you, Pat. Is there any public comment for new business item number 2? Council, do you have questions? Okay. Mark, no? Sorry. I thought it was just...
No.
All right, do you have a motion then for new business item number 2?
So moved.
Motion, Shute, second McNair. We adopt resolution 2147, a resolution declaring the intent of the city of Gardner, Kansas to issue industrial revenue bonds taxable under federal law in the principal amount not to exceed $25 million for the purpose of financing a portion of the acquisition, construction, and equipping of a rental townhome project within the city Flint Trails. City Clerk.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Wheat.
Yes.
Resolution number 2147 passes. Thank you, Matt. And
Thanks, Todd.
Tyler? Yep. Welcome to town also with Flint Trails.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. So we'll move to council updates. Jason, why don't we start with Parks and Rec?
Just real quick, I wanted to thank everybody who was involved with our Independence Day Festival. Gosh, was that 2 Thursdays ago? The weather was great. You know, Johnson County Fire District 1, Johnson County Sheriff's Department was there this year. PD, as usual, gave us great support. I also want to thank all the other city departments that chip in, like Public Works and Finance, so it's not just a Parks and Rec effort, it's a full team effort, so. Yeah, weather was great. Fireworks show was amazing. So now we're getting ready for Gardner Grind here in about a month. So next on the list.
Awesome. Do you have any attendance numbers, guesstimates, or?
It was a huge crowd because a lot of the other places canceled their
Yes.
event for that day. So I know we had some people who just wanted to see a show on the 4th. So we were one of the only ones in town. So.
Yeah, that was awesome. Good music. All right, thank you. Community development, Dave?
Yeah, you just have one item to update you on. Planning Commission will be next Monday, July 22nd at 7 p.m. here. We do have a number of items on the agenda, so once again, we invite the public to attend that meeting.
Public Works, Cal?
Nothing for tonight.
Chief?
I meant to bring the number of calls for service we ran for fireworks, and I was working on a personnel matter, did not bring it, but I will put it in the FMM updates on Friday.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Great, thank you.
Not for tonight.
Matt, Finance?
Nothing tonight.
City Attorney? City Administrator?
Nothing.
All right, start with Councilmember Shute.
I've already said enough. I've got nothing else.
Okay. Councilman McNair?
I'm good, nothing. Oh, except thanks to all of the people that are involved in making the July 4th celebration a success. Thank you for your hard work and dedication.
Mark died a
You just,
little on
you just
the
stuck
inside.
a sword through his heart.
Hit again.
Independence. He prefers Independence Day. Which is first time.
He's new.
Councilman Wade.
He's new. Gotta cut him some slack.
We might as well address Ms. Smith's concerns. I have given it some thought, and I'm open to your guys' thoughts as well. I feel like there's a lack of understanding what the regulations are. And we had a lot of conversation before what the dates should be. We said what the dates were, but it seemed like that still hasn't carried over. I think everybody's out in the street, and I would even say that I didn't realize until I went back and looked at the ordinance that that's not okay. That's not per reg. I think that, and I don't know that we've not communicated it well enough ahead of the date when it's being, or even once the sale goes on, that we can change that. I think there's an opportunity for us to change that, and then figuring out ways to pay for it through changes to the ordinance that maybe increase the fees on the permits that are used for those locations. But I'm up to.
Well, are the discharge dates posted at every, I thought they were. I thought they
Are
were.
they?
They've been posted in the
mailed out.
past in every
Went out to
single
everybody's-
fireworks stand.
So what we do
Okay.
is we provide a sign when the inspectors go out to inspect the tents on that first day that they're allowed to sell. If they pass their inspections
Yeah.
and they're ready to go, we hand them the signs that need to be posted. posted inside the tent. So we're providing those signs to them.
I think we might want to put flyers in every single one of their bags too.
Well, we do social media, we have our traffic signs out that post the dates
Yes.
and
They should come in and
times.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion though to Councilman Weed's point? Ms. Smith had mentioned as one of your last comments that you'd be happy to serve on a committee or a task force. What if we formed this to come up with some of these ideas or these thoughts that would maybe a small group, I mean, maybe you could help serve, I'd be happy to be on there as well, but we could kind of work through some of this stuff and then bring it.
Do we still have Citizens Police Advisory Committee? No. All right, so that's where we need to have a task force that's kind of
It was discussed there before.
special event task force, yeah.
Can I chime in? So this is, whether it's legal or illegal, the majority of people participate in fireworks. It doesn't matter if you're in Kansas City where it's illegal, the county is illegal. So to try to regulate it and create additional rules and arrest people, and that doesn't work anywhere. I mean, if you take, as a police officer, if there's 1,000 people doing something illegal and it's widely accepted, and you take 5 people in front of a judge, you're gonna lose all your credibility because you're picking and choosing individuals. When we have so many calls on illegal fireworks, you can't get to them. So it's just randomly going, and 90% of the time the people you encounter are little kids. So are you gonna go and arrest the little kids? No, you're not gonna do that.
So
it,
I guess
it is
my-
a problem that's so big that it's, you try to control it. In Kansas City, we went in service. We didn't even get out of service to calls, you just go and, but there is some consequence, like shooting in the street. But it has to do with civil liability. So if you do something and hurt somebody and what you're doing is illegal, like shooting in the street, you're subject to additional civil liability. That's kind of where that comes in. So, I mean, it's if we try to put the onus on the police department to start writing tickets and stuff, you remember when we tried to write parking tickets downtown in this small area, the uproar that we had? Think about if we go out and start writing tickets for fireworks outside of hours, you're gonna have very limited people you're gonna cite because most of it's kids, and it's a problem that we do not have the manpower, the capacity to impact. So you're gonna make people
Okay, I'm
upset.
not saying even from a legal I'm
This is
saying
an education thing more than anything
educational,
else. Yeah, this is an
awareness.
education thing.
You know, maybe you come up with a campaign, I don't, you know,
We're not, yeah.
So do you think people aren't aware of what the time and
Yes.
dates are?
Yes.
some of them, yeah.
Absolutely.
I do.
There were people the
No.
week before.
No,
You have-
there's 1,000
You have
posts and
traffic
comments, and
signs,
everybody
you have
knows what it
social
is.
media.
But there's 1,000 points of comments because everybody's asking, what are the dates again?
Yeah.
And
And understand there's at most 1,500 people that are actively engaged in Citizens for the Future of Gardner. We have a city of 25,000. And if we don't bang them over the head repeatedly with the dates of discharge and the rules, it's not gonna make a
Well,
difference.
I think that, by and large, most of the citizens of the community follow the rules.
If they know what they are.
And one of the things that I noticed this year, the street that I live on, there's probably 4 or 5 families got together in driveways, and we celebrated Independence Day with our kids, with family.
I don't think that's an
And
argument.
I
though.
think that, trying to really restrict this,
That's
think
not
we'd
the
have a
talk
big-
here. The talk is not, this is not the talk.
that was the
The-
impression I got.
No, I don't think
More
that
education.
Jennifer's come in the past to ask about
Yeah.
relooking at the ordinance
She's religious. She
in
comes
terms
every year,
in
and
terms
I
of
appreciate it.
in terms of like lessening the amount of fireworks days. But Jennifer didn't do that this time. She just asked that people be made more aware of what is allowed and what is not. And we all had the concern around this dais about a month ago that because of the fact that that Independence Day came on Thursday,
That's why I say the sliding window.
okay, the thing is, a sliding window is even worse, okay? So we said second, third, and fourth, and that's the way it is, okay? But if people, how many people are in the audience right now other than Jennifer? How many people are out there? Okay, so we can say it here, and we can even post it at the stands, okay? But unless we have a concerted, heavy education and awareness campaign, it's not going to stick. Remember
tell me what
all
this
those
campaign
issues
consists
around.
of.
Please let me finish. I feel like I'm arguing with my friends here. But I mean, remember the crosswalk safety issues, okay? We had all sorts of issues around crosswalk safety, and we had to hammer people for years that if you see somebody that's waiting at a crosswalk, they need to stop their car, okay? Finally, I'm starting to see people stop when they see somebody in the crosswalk. But for years, they didn't do it. And for years, we had a lot of near hits out there in our crosswalks. But it took years and years of that education campaign. I know that Gary Carson, who's not here right now, worked really hard with our communications department to really hammer that home in the spring and in the fall of every year, because fall for the schools and spring for people who are on summer break, okay? We've got to do something similar to that with fireworks. If we want people to follow the rules, a lot of times they just need to know what the rules are. And a lot of the people who are moving into this community don't know what the rules are.
Isn't this year 7?
Yes, it is.
And
we have a lot of people that live here now that didn't live here 7 years ago.
okay, but what exactly are we gonna do? It's on all our social media. It's on the website. It's at the stand.
I think
It's
there's-
literally on a billboard coming into town.
And yet, we still have people.
You're not gonna fix that.
Well, but I think we have an opportunity. I like the idea of let us propose some ideas. And I think that they have to have both that idea in mind. How do we talk to more people? How do we get that out to more people? I think there's ideas out there. And also we need to talk about how do we pay for it? And it's not necessarily, I think enforcement, I agree with you, Jim, it's gonna be difficult if not impossible. We understand that. I don't think anything I've talked to had anything to do with that at this point, but I think there's other ideas out there to get the communication out is maybe the first step.
I don't understand why communication would be difficult. I mean, more communication. I always rather over-communicate than under-communicate. That's always the way it's been.
I have no problem with us creating said committee. I'm just eager to hear what new thing we're gonna do.
I don't think there's anything hard. No, it's not going to be a committee. I'm just saying.
No.
You can have a
Open dialogue.
dialogue with the group that gets. That's fine. Fair enough. Ms. Smith, did you have something you wanted to?
Oh, I'm.
You
Come on up.
Unless anyone else in the.
Anybody else?
Jeff.
And I mean, this is actually year 8 for me because I came before the council even voted on it and talked about the issues. And it's about awareness for those veterans, those with PTSD. I'm here as an advocate for those with autism and sensory issues. And they are tax-paying citizens as well. And we focused, it was a great campaign with the animals and the gummies and that thing. Yes, and you didn't see a lot of the social media on missing dogs. I mean, there were some, but not a lot. And people are preparing for that. But we also have to take the human aspect in this as well. And a couple years ago when we partnered about the noise canceling headphones, actually even the county got on board to doing that as well. These are things, we know it's gonna happen. We know that we're gonna have fireworks on those set days. It's the educational part of why we have it on those days, what it does to those neighbors, what it does to individuals with sensory issues and autism. Yes, we may not be able to ticket people, but we've got to do something because it is getting out of hand in certain areas where they're shooting off M80s, they're shooting off very high-powered fireworks that houses are too close together. When your windows are shaking, your house is shaking, that's not good. I am here, I was born in Gardner, I will die in Gardner because I already have a plot paid for. Seriously, I plan ahead. But I want to make this a place for those that do have the sensory issues. They can be here and enjoy it and not be prisoners in their own home.
I mean, I think there's, at this point, we're just getting,
I don't think there's a single thing wrong with putting out that information. There's
Thank you.
none.
That's
But I think at the end of the day, no matter how much we put out, and I'm saying if you come up with 40 great campaigns, I'm not gonna poo-poo a single one, but I guarantee you, you're still gonna have people break the rules.
Of course.
And when that happens, you're still going to have people with issues that are going to have a tough time. And I empathize with that, but there's nothing that we're going to be able to do unless you ban fireworks.
No, I think
Simple as that, and even then, people are still going to shoot them off.
It's
again.
not gonna happen.
But I think that Jennifer, thanks for coming up again, by the way. She made a very good point. In the last couple of years, we had those campaigns like the gummies for the pets and the noise canceling headphones for the folks that have issues with loud noises and things like that. That didn't happen this year, and I don't blame the chief for that, because that's a situation that wasn't anticipated when you came. You didn't know about that.
And those are donations from
So,
private companies.
and they are donations, and maybe we should work to.
And there are lots of grants out there for these programs.
Absolutely, there are, and I think we've taken advantage of them. What I'm saying is that I don't like to call it task force, but some sort of a citizens group that could help to.
Jennifer, would you like to take the lead on that?
Of course.
Project?
Yeah, I mean, I know that you have a direct link to both the veterans and the autism communities. I don't see any reason why we couldn't work on that together.
I think you've got, Mark, and I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I want is for us to try. If we don't try, we don't see what
Ideas,
could happen.
Like the headphones, like the gummies. I mean, just talk through stuff, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right,
Thanks, Jennifer.
thank you.
I'm good then for the rest of the night.
Well, that was still you?
That was fine.
Yeah, thanks.
You
Thanks.
kicked
thanks.
all that off?
Thanks.
I did. You gave it to me in the ball.
Jason Bruce, your staff, we had the Gardner Gold Duck races on Friday, and they were amazing. All the lifeguards pitched in, helped. Last year there was 2,600 ducks sold as a fundraiser for Gardner Gold, dumped into the lazy river. This year they exceeded both of the goals they had, 3,000 and then 5,000, sold 5,600 ducks and dumped them into the lazy river, and your staff was amazing with that, and I really thank them because it was a big undertaking and it was a great fundraiser for Gardner Gold, so thank you for continuing to support that.
We even had a visit from Eating the Duck.
I did. I dressed up as a duck and I cheered them on as they went through the
Oh,
Inflatable
I
duck.
wish I could have been there.
We have video?
I have a
There-
picture. I have a picture.
There is video. I have seen some.
Oh,
people
awesome.
Had video, so yes, but I really appreciate all the work that the lifeguards did. They were the ones that dumped them in. They were the ones that scooped them back out, which is not easy.
That's not easy.
But anyway, that was,
And I think the kids,
Oh.
that weren't in there, just the kids in the pool were having a blast.
Oh, yeah.
They thought it was
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
and Todd was the MC. Kept it fun.
Great.
Awesome. That was it.
Thank you. President?
Nothing.
Okay. I don't have anything either. We do have an executive session scheduled this evening. Do I hear a motion to consider entering into executive session to discuss personnel matters relating to non-elected personnel?
So moved.
Oh, I got motion McNear, seconding. We recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters related to non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1, beginning at 8:20 p.m., returning to regular session at 8:35 p.m. We'll go 15 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?
We don't get that many calls for service.
it's 8:35. We have a motion to return to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Shu. We return to regular session. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Regular session. Is there a motion to, do I need to say the whole thing again? Adjourn back into
To reserve.
executive session. Okay. Reconvene.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Shu. We reconvene beginning at 8:36, returning at 8:42.
You did 6 minutes.
I did 6 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Executive session.
All right, you got that extra minute there, Steve. You better use it wisely.
8:42. Is there a motion to resume?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Shoot. We resume. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Back in session. Is there a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved.
Motion Deaton, second McNear. We adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.